What is this copper box with a wick for oil inside? I found this between my great-aunt's stuff in Belgium. I found it with some pens and a shaving kit. It's about 5 by 7 centimeters and 3 centimeters high, with no visible markings. It has a spring-loaded button on the front with 2 foldable supports on the inside and a wick with a compartment beneath. Any idea what it is? I'm pretty sure it is a 19th century medical field sterilizer. This portable alcohol burner was made to heat surgical instruments in order to cauterize wounds during a war. The flame flickered in the circle, and the instrument rested on the brass stand 2 inches above the fire. These models of burners were made in France and exported to the US, especially used during the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. What is this lump of green glass with white inclusions or spots in it? My mother-in-law keeps this on her mantle because it was brought back by her Navy soldier father in the Pacific Theater during World War II. It has sharp and smooth edges and appears to have been shattered. My mother-in-law has no idea what it really is, and one time told me it was a piece of coral, and another time told me her father found it on the coral. Any idea what it is and why it would be important enough for a sailor to bring it home from war? It's a rare old lavalite. In the 1920s in Lavelle, Wyoming, a glass factory had a devastating fire. Exact dates vary depending on source and lore. What is certain is what it produced in the aftermath. The mineral wollastonite developed in the globs of glass that melted in the fire. Inclusions from spherical to octagon crystallography developed in the green-blue glass. Locals gathered the material and sold it to tourists and travelers passing through. Word got to the mineral collector community, and popularity peaked because of the uncommon mechanism that caused it. Since it was overseas, I'm guessing a soldier had it as a good luck charm from home, and somewhere along the way it fell out or got lost and picked up by your grandfather. These were found in an old farm shed in Nebraska. They are made out of thick metal coils, a metal plate on the bottom, straps, and some very old and decaying padding. There is no writing on it anywhere, and I guess it was homemade. I'm not convinced it was a good invention as they are quite heavy and awkward. What is this thing? They are knee protectors you'd strap on over your pants or under a long skirt while gardening. It was patented on December 25, 1917 in Monticello, Iowa. The patent says, "Our invention relates to a yielding pad or support for the knees of miners, cement workers, gardeners, and others whose work necessitates pressure on the knee, and also moving about or walking thereon." This photo was taken by my grandfather likely around 1958 to 1961, while he was stationed at Beale Air Force Base in California. He was a major at this time, flew planes in World War II, and was involved in some aerospace stuff in the early 60s. He ended his military career as a lieutenant colonel, but refused to go to Vietnam, so he retired. Given the provenance, it is either aviation or aerospace related. I'm guessing it's about 1 meter across, maybe aluminum or stainless steel. It's the only photo I have. Any ideas? This is the return element of a Corona spy satellite. The Corona program was a series of American strategic reconnaissance satellites produced and operated by the CIA, Directorate of Science and Technology, with substantial assistance from the US Air Force. They were used for photographic surveillance of China, the Soviet Union, and other areas, beginning in June 1959 and ending in May 1972. Basically, they had the ability to launch satellites with cameras, but they couldn't digitally beam images back. So they built a special enclosure to drop the film. Then it would be intercepted by a plane as it fell by parachute, and then developed quickly. What is this wooden container with donkeys on a string for? I found this in a house that was built in 1910, but last had people living in it in the 50s to 70s. The bottle part of it is about 3 to 4 inches. Is it something from a ritual? And maybe I just unleash wicked spirits in it. Please help. It's a Matrimonial prospectus, circa 1900. These bottles were mostly sold as a gag gift, mostly for men. The gag being, "You're such a loser, these are your only prospects," and would have usually small naked women figurines inside. They would be sold at popular tourist sites and places like fairs or conventions. It's possible that someone didn't like the naked female figures and replaced them with donkeys. What is this brown and rusty heavy metal tool with no moving parts? I found it in a garage filled with a bunch of lumber tools and probably sat here for a good while. It looks like the middle part could move and the top has a bunch of hammer marks. Any idea what it is? It's a cable cutter. Looks like it's rusted in the down position. This portable impact cutter was invented in 1928 by Morse Starrett to cut wire rope, actuated by striking with a hammer. They are engineered to deliver a clean cut without affecting the original roundness of the wire rope. I found this ring while metal detecting in Norfolk, UK. My guess of age initially was Tudor, but I posted it on a Facebook metal detecting forum, and most people thought it was 15th century. And I haven't been able to decipher the inscription. Any ideas? It's a Posy ring. They were popular during the 15th through the 17th centuries in both England and France as lovers' gifts. The language used in many early Posy rings was Norman French, with French, Latin, and English used in later times. The quotations were often from contemporary courtship stories or chapbooks, and were usually inscribed on the inner surface of the ring. Can someone tell me if this saber my uncle gave me is a real World War I saber? If not, can anyone identify where this is from? So my uncle gave me this because he knows I like to collect old pieces, especially old war equipment. What I know about this is that he bought this in 1977 at an antiquities market near London. It was sold to him as an authentic World War I cavalry saber. The blade is about 64 centimeters long. It has the same 4 engravings on both sides just above the handle. It's quite heavy, but I can't measure how heavy it exactly is. Can anyone tell me if this is in fact an authentic World War I cavalry saber? Thanks in advance. This is an 18th century British Yeomanry light cavalry officer's saber. The sword you have is almost certainly a 1788 pattern sword, meaning that it would be the standard shape between 1788 and 1796. I should also add that the lack of a maker's mark is almost certainly 18th century. Most army swords will have an official inspection mark if commissioned after 1788. This is always subject to exceptions if it is from a colonial regiment. If it is from the 18th century, then the handle material is probably stingray skin, and it could be worth some money as they are pretty rare. What is this helmet I discovered in the attic of my 95-year-old grandpa? He has some weird Alzheimer's complications. He doesn't remember why he has it. There are letters RR on the front. Any ideas? That's an Adrian helmet. It's a combat helmet originally produced for the French army during World War I. It was the first standard helmet of the French army and was designed when millions of French troops were engaged in trench warfare and got head wounds from the falling shrapnel generated by indirect fire and became a frequent cause of battlefield casualties. Introduced in 1915, it was the first modern steel helmet, and it served as the basic helmet of many armies well into the 1930s. I went to the South Canadian History Museum in Noble, Oklahoma, and they said they could not identify this item. It was hung among lots of wrenches, fence pullers, and various implements. The handle is designed to fit a hand and is sized appropriately for a hand tool. I asked if they knew what it was, and said he thought it might be for keeping yarn straight in a loom. What do you guys think? Please tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching. Let's make life fun.